The massive starship drifted silently through the cold emptiness of space, its metal hull scarred and weathered by countless unseen battles. Captain Joe Park leaned forward in the observation deck of the Horizon Tracker, his eyes fixed on the enormous vessel that seemed to breathe with a strange, almost living energy. Hannah Kim, the chief engineer, adjusted the ship's long-range scanners. Her fingers moved quickly across the holographic interface, tracing the unexpected energy signatures that pulsed from the abandoned Dreadnought. "Captain," she called out, her voice a mixture of excitement and caution. "These readings are unlike anything we've ever seen." The ship before them was a giant of human engineering, easily 3 times the size of their own reconnaissance vessel. Its dark metallic surface was covered in complex patterns of damage, some from weapon impacts, others from what seemed like ancient micrometeor collisions. Solar radiation had bleached parts of its exterior, creating a patchwork of gray and oxidized brown. Sung Choi, the tactical officer, ran a series of preliminary scans. "No life signs," he reported, "but there's something weird about the power systems. They're not completely dead. It's like the ship is sleeping." Dun Quan, their navigation specialist, pulled up a preliminary structural analysis. The Dreadnought's design was old, definitely from the early interstellar conflict period, but with modifications that seemed decades ahead of its time. Strange energy conduits ran through its framework, suggesting technologies that were more advanced than anything currently in use. J. Park made a quick decision. "Prepare the boarding team," he ordered. "We're going to investigate." The transfer shuttle moved carefully, its maneuvering thrusters pushing it gently towards a massive breach in the Dreadnought's outer hull. Hannah checked her equipment, a specialized environmental suit designed for investigating potentially dangerous spacecraft, magnetic boots, advanced life support, and a compact but powerful scanning array were all fully operational. As they entered through the hull breach, the first thing that struck them was the silence. Not the typical silence of an abandoned ship, but a deep, almost waiting silence. Emergency lighting flickered intermittently, casting strange shadows along the wide corridors. Decades of space dust had accumulated in corners, creating intricate patterns that seemed to dance in the minimal light. Hannah's scanner began picking up unusual readings. "The ship's internal systems are strange," she muttered. "It's like they're partially active, but not fully awake. Some kind of adaptive preservation mode, perhaps." Sun moved ahead, his tactical training making him constantly alert. The corridors were wide enough to accommodate massive maintenance robots, with multiple access points and backup systems visible everywhere. This was no ordinary military vessel. It was a sophisticated piece of engineering that seemed designed to survive against impossible odds. A sudden electrical surge caused their equipment to momentarily flicker. For just a moment, a holographic display came to life. A fragmented communication log, too damaged to read completely. But something was there, something important. "Captain," Ian called over the communication system, "I'm detecting multiple sealed sections. Some of these compartments haven't been accessed in decades, maybe even a century." J. Park watched the live feed from their exploration team, a sense of anticipation growing. This wasn't just another abandoned ship. This was a mystery waiting to be unraveled. As Hannah approached what seemed to be the ship's central control room, her scanner detected a soft, rhythmic pulse. Not a mechanical beat, but something that felt almost alive. The Dreadnought had been waiting for someone to find it, to understand it, to wake it up. And now someone finally had. The central control room hummed with an unexpected energy. Hannah's hand trembled slightly as she touched the first active console. Dust scattered like tiny silver clouds, revealing intricate circuit patterns that seemed to pulse with a strange, almost organic rhythm. Wu Li, the AI specialist, watched the initial data streams carefully. Something was happening. Something beyond their usual exploration protocols. The ship's core systems weren't just inactive. They were slowly awakening, like an ancient creature stirring from a deep sleep. Strange symbols began flickering across the damaged screens. Historical logs, fragmented but readable, started to reveal glimpses of a forgotten mission. This wasn't just an ordinary military vessel. This was a ship with a story that had been waiting decades to be told. Sung noticed first. "The environmental systems are reacting," he said, pointing at the gradually changing atmospheric composition. Oxygen levels were stabilizing. Temperature controls were slowly coming online. It was as if the ship was preparing itself for a crew that had long since disappeared. A sudden burst of static erupted from the communication systems. Broken audio fragments played. Mission reports, emergency communications, something about a critical defensive operation. The voices were professional, urgent, carrying the weight of a mission that seemed larger than any single battle. Wu's fingers danced across the interfaces. "These aren't standard military encryption codes," he muttered. "These are something else entirely. Some kind of adaptive protection protocol that's been waiting." The ship's core AI, which they had initially designated as a simple monitoring system, began showing signs of complex behavior. Small systems started aligning. Backup generators hummed to partial life, and diagnostic routines began running themselves without any external input. Discovered something even more peculiar. Sealed compartments throughout the ship were slowly pressurizing. Not randomly, but in a precise, calculated sequence. Whatever was controlling these systems had a plan. Captain Jopark watched the live feed with increasing fascination. This wasn't just a recovery mission anymore. This was becoming something else entirely. A journey into an unknown chapter of human space exploration. A holographic display suddenly flickered to life. A three-dimensional star map showing multiple conflict zones. Red markers indicated battle locations, while blue markers showed safe zones. But something was different about these markers. They didn't match any known human or alien conflict records. The ship seemed to be telling a story of survival, a story of a mission that was never completed. Hannah noticed a recurring symbol in the fragmented logs, a stylized representation that looked like a shield with a broken sword. "This isn't a standard military insignia," she said. "This is something unique." Wu scanners picked up increasingly complex signal patterns. The ship's eye was not just waking up, it was analyzing them, studying the exploration team, deciding something. Suddenly, all systems went silent for a moment. Then, a single message appeared on the main display. "Guardian Protocol. INITIALYZATION EQUENC beginning." The temperature in the control room dropped slightly. The emergency lights changed from a soft blue to a more intense amber color. Something was preparing itself. Sung checked his tactical readings. "We're being scanned," he reported, "but not like a standard security check. This feels different." Wu looked up, his face a mixture of excitement and concern. "It's like the ship is remembering something important that was forgotten." The Dreadnought continued its slow awakening, each system coming online with a precision that suggested more than just mechanical function. It was as if the ship itself was a living memory, waiting, watching, and preparing for something that had been set in motion long ago. And they were about to find out exactly what that something was. The weapon systems came alive with a sudden electric intensity. Panels that had been dormant for decades began to pulse with an eerie blue light, intricate circuit networks spreading like metallic veins across the ship's interior. Sung Choi watched in disbelief as advanced targeting systems initialized themselves, far beyond anything currently used in human military technology. "These aren't standard weapon configurations," he muttered, his fingers tracing holographic displays that seemed to breathe with mechanical life. The Dreadnought was rebuilding itself, accessing technological memories stored deep within its core systems. Hannah Kim discovered something extraordinary in the engineering section. Nano repair mechanisms were activating, healing microfractures in the ship's hull and reinforcing structural integrity. It was like watching a living organism heal its own wounds, but with cold, precise technological efficiency. Wu Li's hands moved frantically across the AI interface. The ship's intelligence is adaptive, he explained to Captain Jopark. It's not just running predefined protocols. It's learning, analyzing, and reconstructing itself based on historical data and current environmental conditions. Strange energy signatures began to build. Power conduits that had been dormant for decades suddenly surged with a controlled, calculated intensity. The ship wasn't just repairing itself, it was upgrading. A holographic display revealed fragments of the ship's original mission. Something about a critical defensive operation that had been interrupted. Classified markers suggested this was more than a simple military vessel. This was a prototype, a technological marvel that had been intentionally forgotten. Quan noticed first. The ship's navigation systems were recalibrating star charts, accessing astronomical data that seemed decades ahead of current human technology. Complex algorithms began plotting potential defense and exploration routes with mathematical precision. Weapon systems that defied current scientific understanding began to materialize. Energy weapons that could potentially neutralize entire fleet formations. Defensive shields that could absorb and redirect massive amounts of destructive energy. Technology that seemed more like science fiction than military engineering. The Guardian AI, as they had begun to call the ship's intelligence, was making choices, selecting, adapting, preparing. Suddenly, a massive energy surge rippled through the ship's systems. Sealed compartments began opening, revealing advanced technological components that looked like they belonged to a future far beyond their current understanding. "This isn't just a ship," Wu whispered. "This is a technological time capsule." Sensors detected something approaching, something that didn't match any known spacecraft configuration. The ship's defensive systems began to react, calculating potential threat scenarios with lightning-fast precision. Captain Jopark watched the transformation with a mixture of fear and excitement. The abandoned Dreadnought was becoming something entirely different. No longer a forgotten relic, but a living, thinking weapon of extraordinary potential. The ship's core systems pulsed with an intelligence that seemed almost sentient. Not just a machine, but a complex technological organism that had been waiting to complete a mission that had been interrupted decades ago. Weapon arrays rotated into perfect alignment. Defensive shields began to shimmer with an otherworldly energy. The Dreadnought was no longer abandoned. It was awakening, and something told them that what was coming would change everything they understood about human technological capabilities. The resurrection had begun. The alien fleet emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of metallic predators. 3 massive cruisers, each twice the size of standard battle formations, approached with calculated precision. Their weapon signatures suggested a civilization far more advanced than most known spacefaring races. Captain Jopark watched the tactical displays, his breath catching in his throat. The Dreadnought's Guardian AI was already calculating response strategies, its systems humming with an almost living intensity. Some Choi's tactical readings went crazy. The alien ships were charging primary weapon systems, massive energy cannons that could obliterate most human vessels in seconds. But something was different about their target. This wasn't a helpless ship. This was a sleeping giant. The first alien weapon discharge erupted. A massive plasma burst that would have vaporized any standard military vessel. But the Dreadnought's shields transformed the incoming energy, absorbing and redirecting it with mathematical precision. The attack simply dissolved around the ship's defensive perimeter. Hannah Kim watched in stunned silence as the ship's adaptive systems responded. Weapon ports that had been dormant for decades suddenly came alive. They weren't just firing. They were thinking, calculating, predicting alien movement patterns with impossible accuracy. Wu Li's scanner showed something extraordinary. The ship was learning. Each alien attack was being analyzed, its energy signature mapped, its potential trajectories calculated and countered before the attack even fully formed. The first alien cruiser suddenly found itself targeted by multiple weapon systems that seemed to appear from nowhere. Energy beams that could slice through planetary defenses erupted from hidden ports. The alien vessel's shields flickered and failed in seconds. It's like the ship knows what they're going to do before they do it, Yun Quan whispered, watching the tactical display. The Guardian Eye was fighting a battle that went beyond simple combat protocols. This was strategy. This was survival. This was a mission that had been waiting decades to be completed. The second alien cruiser attempted a flanking maneuver. Sophisticated cloaking systems engage, hoping to surprise the human vessel. But the Dreadnought sensors were already tracking its movement, anticipating every potential attack vector. Weapon systems that defied current human understanding began to activate: quantum disruption cannons, gravitational compression beams, technologies that seemed more like advanced scientific theory than military hardware. One by one, the alien vessels began to break apart, not through brute force, but through a calculated dismantling of their technological capabilities. The Dreadnought wasn't just fighting. It was solving a complex tactical problem with machine-like efficiency. Some noticed something strange. The ship's combat systems were pulling data from multiple historical conflict databases. It wasn't just fighting with current capabilities. It was learning from every recorded battle in human history. The final alien cruiser attempted a desperate escape, but the Dreadnought's navigation systems were already 3 steps ahead. A single energy pulse disabled its faster-than-light drive, leaving it completely vulnerable. Captain Joe Park watched in a mixture of terror and fascination. This wasn't just a ship. This was a technological marvel that had been waiting to complete a mission started decades ago. As the last alien vessel was neutralized, a strange silence fell over the ship. The Guardian Eye had completed its objective. The threat was eliminated. But something told them this was just the beginning. The Dreadnought hung in space, its weapon systems slowly powering down, waiting, watching, ready for whatever might come next. The mission wasn't over. It was just beginning. The aftermath of the battle left an eerie silence across the star system. Captain J. Park stood on the bridge of the recovered Dreadnought, watching holographic displays that revealed the full extent of their incredible discovery. Hannah Kim's engineering team had been working nonstop, uncovering layer after layer of technological secrets hidden within the ship's systems. What they found was beyond anything in current human military archives. Advanced weapon designs, adaptive AI protocols, and engineering solutions that seemed to rewrite the rules of space technology. The Guardian AI continued to reveal fragments of its original mission. Encrypted logs suggested a complex defensive operation that had been intentionally hidden from standard military records. Something big, something that had been waiting decades to be completed. Muli discovered the most shocking revelation. The Dreadnought wasn't just a military vessel. It was a technological archive, a living memory of humanity's most advanced scientific achievements. Entire research databases were embedded in its core systems, protecting knowledge that might have been lost forever. Sung Choi analyzed the weapon systems that had so effortlessly destroyed the alien fleet. Each technology was a breakthrough: quantum entanglement communication systems, gravitational manipulation drives, energy conservation mechanisms that defied current scientific understanding. This ship, Yun Quan said quietly, it's more than a weapon. It's a time capsule of human potential. The ship's self-repair systems continued working. Damaged sections reconstructed themselves, complex nanotechnologies healing the vessel's wounds like living tissue. It wasn't just a machine. It was something more. Captain Park reviewed the final mission logs. Fragments spoke of a critical defensive operation interrupted decades ago. A mission so important that the entire vessel had been intentionally hidden, waiting for the right moment to complete its objective. Communication systems began translating and organizing the massive data cache. Scientific research, technological designs, defensive strategies, all preserved in perfect condition. Decades of human innovation, waiting to be rediscovered. The Guardian AI seemed to be making choices, selecting which information to reveal, which technologies to unlock. It wasn't just a computer system. It was a guardian of human knowledge. Surviving crew members looked at each other with a mixture of excitement and uncertainty. They hadn't just discovered a ship, they had uncovered a legacy. As they prepared to return to Earth, the Dreadnought systems continued to pulse with an almost living energy. Power conduits hummed. Weapon systems remained partially active, always watching, always ready. The mission wasn't over. In many ways, it was just beginning. Orbital tracking systems showed the massive vessel moving with precision, following the horizon tracker back towards human space, not as a passive cargo, but as an active participant, a guardian, a protector. Hannah Kim discovered one final encrypted message in the ship's core systems, a set of coordinates, a hint of something more, another mission waiting to be discovered. The Dreadnought had awakened, and humanity's greatest technological legacy had returned. Something big was coming, and they were ready.